What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at you another video. So this video, I want to talk about your environment and to nail down this idea that your environment exists so that you can learn about yourself, right? That your environment is actually a blessing, that most people are oblivious to this idea. And I can give you guys a simple example starting off, right? If let's just say you were born in a remote village, right? Say you're somewhere in the Amazon forest and you were born to a small tribe, and say your tribe only has a dozen people, right? It's just your family with no contact with the outside world, right? No internet, no electricity, no electronics, etc. And let's just say your entire tribe, everyone in the tribe is 6 feet and taller, right? You and your entire tribe would never know that you were tall unless you came across short people, right? Like your tribe would just think that you are normal human height. However, of course, in this world, right, if you're 6 foot and up, you're probably in the top 5% in the world as far as height, right? And it's only when the tribe is able to migrate over to nearby cities and get integrated into normal life, or even just be, or just encounter other people, is when they'll realize that they're taller than everyone else, right? So your environment in this case, right, the environment helped you learn about yourself, because had you not been exposed to shorter people, right, because I don't know if it's the United States or in the world, but average male height I've read is like 5'8", right? And average female height I think is 5'4". So to be 6 foot and up, an entire family, right? Of course you are in the top 5% as far as height in the world, right? So you wouldn't know that unless you surround yourself or come across shorter people, right? It's the idea there that your environment exists to serve as, pretty much, you have an entire spectrum of a wide array of experiences. And in life, right, your environment, it allows you to experience the full spectrum, right? You can experience really, really good events, and then you can also experience contrast, right? These events that you consider to be bad events, right? Because events that happen in life, they're not good or bad, they just are. And we humans are typically the ones to place it in a good bucket or a bad bucket. But even the bad events don't have to be bad, because they can give you valuable insight about yourself, right? Another example is when it comes to eating, right? We've all eaten many meals in our lives, and we haven't eaten all of them. Like, we haven't tried every food that exists on the planet, right? We haven't done that. How can you decide whether or not you like a food or not, right? It's because you can determine, it's a lot easier for you to determine foods you liked because you've likely tried foods that you didn't enjoy, right? The foods that you really like, right? You bite them, you savor every bite, you savor every moment. It smiles, it makes you happy, right? You enjoy it. You're able to understand that those reactions are reactions of you enjoying a food because you've experienced foods that you didn't like in the past. And these could be foods where as soon as you taste it, you spit it out immediately. Or like you might bite into it and then the flavor and the texture just doesn't make sense in your mind or your taste buds. And so you spit it out, right? Like, because you've had those moments of disgust with certain foods, it makes it a lot easier to be clear on the foods you do like, which, if you think about it, this is all helping to simply determine your preferences, right? That's what that does. Experiences that you had with foods you didn't like helped you learn about your preferences, because now it's a lot easier for you to determine the foods you do like because you've experienced foods you didn't like. It's the same idea with people, right? If there were no bad people on the planet, you wouldn't know, or a good person wouldn't know that they were a good person or being a good person if there weren't bad people to exist on the planet, right? If everyone was already good, then like that would just, I mean, that would be great, but then that would also simply just be the norm, right? We wouldn't know that that person is being good if everyone is just good. But because there are, a couple bad apples here and there, right? Then when we do see someone that's good, we notice it and it stands out and it's clear in our minds, right? So the environment And by environment, I'm referring to everything that's outside of you, right? Of course, you have your own yourself and your own internal being, which are your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, right? Everything that's outside of you, everything that falls in your environment, which are, your actual environment and, other people, like your life experiences, right? All of these experiences and your environment all served you because they've helped you learn about yourself. And they also give you, your environment gives you the opportunity for you to reinvent yourself, for you to recreate yourself if needed, right? It's the same idea with all other areas of life, right? There's people who say life is hard, life is hard, life is hard. And people will say this because they've probably experienced a lot of financial challenges and hardship in their lives, right? However, they probably experienced moments of the opposite side of the spectrum, moments of abundance, moments where it felt like things were going very well for them, right? Moments where they probably see other people who are doing financially well, and they, right? It's like they're probably experiencing contrast, right? One end of the spectrum, and they've seen and probably experienced to some degree being on the opposite end of the spectrum. So because you've experienced the entire spectrum, you can now decide where it is that you want to be. And if you're somewhere you don't want to be, like for example, if you're experiencing contrast, right, where life is hard and things are challenging, right, even in that contrast, it is still a blessing, because in that moment you can still reinvent yourself, you can still recreate yourself. You don't have to settle to just remain there, because that is temporary if you allow it to be, right? It's just your set of circumstances, it's just your situation, and your situation is subject to change. And in that moment of challenge, of hardship, you can reinvent yourself. And this is for everything in life, right? Someone could experience an obstacle of being in school, whether this is like high school, college, and getting an F in class, right? That F grade is not the end all be all if you don't let it, right? Because that F grade, if you fail the class, right, that simply tells you, it just gives you an update of a reflection of all of your past events and your past thoughts. Maybe you failed that class because you never put any thought into that class, or you never put any effort into that class. But that F letter grade does not determine your future as a student, right? Because from that moment on, you can use that as motivation and fuel and say, you know what, that F letter grade is not a representation of who I am and what I'm capable of and my level of effort that I can put. And a student can bounce back from an F letter grade and become a straight A student, right? That can happen. It's not, right? And that's what it is when it comes to your environment, right? You experience an entire array of experiences so that you can begin to understand yourself. And in those moments of, let's just say, hardship, these are moments where most people just simply label it as bad events, as this being a bad event. If that F grade that you received ends up being the catalyst and the motivating reason and factor for you to go all out and become a straight A student afterwards, is that event then still seen as a bad event? If that bad event ends up leading to so much good and positivity in your life because it allows you to turn your life around for the better, then is that still seen as a bad event? For most people, they'll say no. Or some people still label it as a bad event. But if that was the reason that helped turn your life around and you became a stellar human being because of it, then how can that ever be a bad event, right? That was more of a wake you up, right? Just calling your name to say, hey, it's time to lock in, right? Time to focus, right? So this is what I mean. Your environment, everything that happens outside of you is still a blessing, because you might experience contrast. You're probably going to experience the wider array, the wide spectrum. And in that, it's a blessing because you have the ability to choose to learn. You have the ability to learn, not only learn about yourself and where you stand in all these areas, but you have the ability to then choose the person that you want to become. You have the ability to reinvent yourself, because maybe, for example, right, maybe you've naturally had a negative attitude because the majority of people that's been around you in your life has had negative attitudes, right? It's only when you come across great people with positive attitudes is when you realize, like, wow, I've really been a negative person. And Now that you've seen and experienced what it's like to have a positive attitude, you can then freely choose and decide if you want to adopt that positive attitude, because maybe you don't want to feel angry and sad and negative all the time, right? Maybe you want to begin enjoying life. Maybe you want to begin feeling positive about yourself. You no longer want to feel like a victim, or no longer want to feel at the mercy of life, right? And so you decide to adopt a positive attitude because it makes you feel good and it takes the weight off your shoulder. And it feels so much better to just be nicer to other human beings, right? Because you've experienced that, you can now adopt it. It's no different than other people who will see celebrities on TV or read about, different celebrities in their autobiographies or whatever it is, and they'll pick up on great qualities of this person. That this person is humble, that this person is caring, that this person is passionate, that this person is motivated, right? That this person is an exceptional speaker with phenomenal vocabulary, right? They might see these qualities and say, you know what? I want to adopt these great qualities that make this person great. I can adopt some of these qualities, right? So that's you effectively reinventing yourself because of your environment. So most people, they don't see the blessings, or they don't see this in their environment. They just see these events and these life experiences, and they say, oh, this is good, this is bad, and then they'll just keep moving forward, right? But everything that happens in your life, everything that unfolds in your life is a blessing, because even in the quote unquote bad events, right? That's simply contrast. That's you simply being able to learn about your own preferences and learn about where you stand. And you, in the moments of challenges and struggle, these are the moments that you now have to reinvent yourself, right? If you're someone that has constantly said life is hard for many years or for decades on end, right? You are in the perfect place as we speak, because now in that opportunity, you now have the opportunity in this moment, right? You now have the opportunity to reinvent yourself and bring out the best version of yourself. Either level yourself up or bring out the best version of yourself, so that you can begin changing your circumstances, right? Rather than remaining at the mercy of that, investing in yourself and growing and becoming the best version will eventually propel you forward out of those tough situations, right? Oftentimes when people face a struggle, they pray for life to get easier. But rather than praying for life to get easier, pray for you to get better, right? Work for you to get better. Bring out the best version of yourself, so that regardless of whatever event unfolds, right? Because you yourself are better, life will still remain easygoing. Life will unfold a lot easier for you because you have become better and you didn't remain the same. So moral of the story is this, right? Your environment is a blessing because it helps you learn about yourself. It helps you learn about who you are and your place in this world. And if there's things that you would like to change, your environment helps you learn about your preferences. And because of that, right, you learn about yourself. Because how do you expect to learn about yourself if you don't ever experience anything, right? You need to experience things to then figure out what you like, what you don't like, and where you stand on certain things. And it gives you life, and the environment gives you the opportunity to reinvent yourself in other areas, right? Without this, in moments of struggle, you have the best opportunity in the world where you can become the best version of yourself. And so no need to shy away from struggle. It's good to have that, because that is simply contrast, so that you can get to the next level, right? And when you do get to that next level, you'll be proud. People say, they want the materialistic things, they want the things that they dream of, right? And all these things are great, but it's less about that. When you do get to the destination that you're heading towards, right, it becomes less about the destination and the goal itself, and more about the person that you've become to get there, right? So you'll be proud of the person that you've become. So that's what this is all about. Everything works in your favor each and every moment, right? All the life experiences are to your benefit, because you not only learn about yourself and your preferences, you come to a realization that you can recreate yourself whenever you want, and you can create the best version of yourself because of the environment and everything that you've experienced. So it all works out for you at the end of the day. So I rest up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we're on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.